And the title for this devotion is, What is Stopping Your Faith? Okay, we shall read from Mark 5, from verses 25 up until verses 29, the King James Version. And it says, And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. When she heard of Jesus, came in the press behind and touched his garment. For she said, If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. Now here is a woman which had a uterine disorder, where she was flowing blood for a period of 12 years. It says that it had been 12 years of trying literally everything. She had tried doctors, I would think even herbs, certain rituals probably, but all of that was in vain. And all it was doing for her, it was just depleting her resources as she was getting worse and worse. Now, Shem, what made things even worse for her was that this condition was rather a very unpleasant one and a very unfriendly one. As when we read in Leviticus 15, verses 19 and 25 to 33, they declare a person in her condition as having been ceremonially unclean. The laws were saying that even the bed that she slept on, even where the object that she sat on would be defiled as unclean. So even the people which were around her, if they were to touch her bed or if they were to touch the object that she had sat on, they would be declared as unclean. Verse 19 even mentions that even during a normal period, a person who touched a ceremonially unclean woman would be declared unclean until evening as well. So it was so sad, her situation, in that if that's the case, I can imagine it means relationships would be an issue for her. And if you know very well, God has created us to be relational beings. So when we do not have genuine relationships, when we do not have relationships in our lives, we certainly do feel that there is a lack in our lives. But I am imagining that because of her status, she probably was struggling even in that area. Life Application Bible even comments that Jewish men would carefully avoid touching, speaking to, or even looking at her. Imagine, if you are not even going to be looked at because of your condition that you don't even have power over. So she was basically an untouchable, an outcast. What a lonely and a miserable life that must be. Now, but I like her faith. I like when it says that when she heard about Jesus, she said within herself, that if I can but touch the hem of his garment. Imagine, she being the untouchable, she being the one who makes other people be declared unclean if they touch her, now was deciding she's going to touch the hem of Jesus' garment. What a manner of faith is that? She was deciding that she's going to do the very act that was making the others unclean when they come into contact with her. That must have been such a kind of faith which is so strong. A daring faith which says, even though I know my obstacles and they are factual, the fact is I'm this person who people can't even come close to. But I'm going to go out there and go close as touching another person in order for me to get healing, because I have faith that even touching this person won't defile this person. Instead, it would heal me. It was a faith which was challenging her own obstacles. It was a faith which was not afraid to take risks, because I can imagine if it was me, I would be scared and think, hey, what if I get, and then as I'm still starting to touch him, and the next thing he turns around and lashed me. But her faith dared even that risk. It was a faith which was unlike Thomas, where she did not wait to see a tangible evidence. You know, some of us, we walk around and we vow that we would never do certain things until we see a tangible evidence. But her faith was not like that. Her faith was good enough even to be convinced by hearing the stories of other people. It was an active faith which prays and pushes until something happens. Remember, she was 12 years with this condition. Now, I had heard and I had also read that a habit, for it to be confirmed in someone's life, it takes only 21 days. So, even though this was not a habit for her, but to have people treating like this for even a period of 21 days, I can imagine what it can do to you. But for her, she was receiving this kind of treatment, this kind of suffering for 12 years, a period way longer than 21 days. So I can imagine what type of identity it could have brought to her about herself. But her faith dared even that identity that this condition had given her. And she refused to accept it as permanent in her life. Miss out on opportunities because of a false identity that life has given us. Let's say, for instance, maybe you grew up being told you will never amount to anything. You grew up being told that you are such a failure. And then you believe that. And then you never want to even go out there and be daring and try things that the Lord has put in your heart. But this woman, in spite of the 12 years of an identity which was giving her an isolation from other people, she still did not allow that to block her way, to block her healing. To dare, fear of further pain in what we thought or we believed. Let's say you want to try out something and you start being fearful. What if it does not go according to the way that I had planned? But this woman, she decided not to even let that thought cross her mind and stop her. She decided not to even let the what if this man turns around and rejects me. She decided to brave her fears as well. It was because of her daring act of faith that she was healed. In life, there are personal blessings which require a daring and an active faith. You see, for this woman, this was a personal blessing for her. Only her could act out of that kind of faith for her to receive the kind of healing that she needed. And yet in life, we miss out on our personal blessings, because when God puts a word in his heart and he says, my child, I want you to go out and do this. I want you to do this. Want him to bless us. Because of the fears that we have in our hearts, because of the lack of faith, we cocoon ourselves and decide, no, I'd rather protect myself. What if it doesn't go according to what I had thought it would? What if this happened? What if this happened? And then end up losing out on the blessings which were meant only for us. The woman had depleted all her resources trying to restore herself. But it says only when she met Jesus, immediately her plague was gone. So many times we try and we try to solve our problems by ourselves. We've tried so many things. We have this hollow in our spirit that we feel it needs to be filled up. But even filling it up with materialism, filling it up with relationships which are empty, we end up not even getting the healing. Instead, they're depleting our resources. But when we go to Jesus, only Jesus can heal us of all the plagues that life has thrown at us. When we go to Jesus in that type of daring faith, only Jesus can help us to overcome those burdens, those obstacles that were hindering us from receiving that which God had personally put aside for us. Jesus is saying to us today, I am here. You don't have to look for external fixes anymore. I am here. I need you to go against yourself. I need you to take that daring act against the very same thing that is stopping your faith. I need you to come to me and trust that I can heal you. Do anything that I say I can do. How about joining me in surrendering those obstacles that we know about in our lives to God, and step out there, go out there and claim our personal blessings by acting up our faith, not have a dead faith of just sitting and doing nothing, but have faith that God will do what he said he will do, that God is Jehovah.